Fires ripped through a Rohingya refugee camp in Bangladesh on Friday. Cramped and dangerous conditions for the more than 1 million ethnic Rohingya who fled Myanmar since 2017. But now there's concern for those back home. Satellite images over Butidang in northern Rakhine state show the city engulfed in smoke on the morning of May the 18th. That, says the United Nations, was the result of hundreds of homes set alight the night before.
We are receiving frightening and disturbing reports from northern Rakhine State in Myanmar of the impacts of the conflict on civilian lives and property. Some of the most serious allegations concern incidents of killing of Rohingya civilians and the burning of their property.
Communications have been cut to the town, but Al Jazeera has spoken to someone who witnessed the attack. So had the military already left Butidang, and were the Arakan army already there?
There was no government, no military, just only them. So they set fire and they slaughtered innocent youths. They want us to be afraid of them first, and later on they did what they want.
The Arakan army, an increasingly powerful rebel group, denies it's behind the attacks. Its fighters, seen here with hundreds of captured soldiers and their families, say other armed groups set the fires. The Arakan army has had significant victories over the military in the past 6 months. But if its fighters are responsible, they'll be held to account, says the shadow government.
No one is above the law. And while conducting this operation across the country, there are allies or there are organizations, ethnic resistance organizations fighting with the junta are also being advised to follow international norms and standards.
Rohingya communities already in exile are concerned for friends and family in northern Rakhine. Between 50 and 100,000 people are reported to have been displaced from Butidang with nowhere to go.
I think the Arakan army and the government are equally bad. We do not have any means to defend ourselves. All we want are basic human rights.
These pictures, released by the Arakan army, show the aftermath of an air attack by the military junta on May the 14th. The victims, Rohingya villagers outside the town of Mongdor. As Myanmar's civil war grinds on, the Rohingya increasingly find themselves trapped in the middle. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera.
Well, Tanvir Chowdhury joins me now from Teknaf on the banks of the Naf River. That's on the Bangladesh-Myanmar border. Tanvir, when we spoke yesterday, you were telling us about the people stuck there at the border, essentially trapped in the jungle with no shelter. Now there's been a cyclone. How are they doing?
Well, I mean, we can only get news through the Rohingyas who has contacts on the other side. I just spoke today with some of the Rohingya contact we have. Most of them are still stuck in the jungle, of course, because of the cyclone warning, which also affects the coastal belt of Myanmar near to Bangladesh. They've been staying hiding there. This area is basically a conflict zone now. It's very tense. There's a fighting every day between the Arakan army as well as the Myanmar military. The Arakan army consists of mainly Buddhist Rakhine people who for the last 2 years have been calling for an autonomous state and fighting against the Myanmar army. So they're caught in between. Recently, they've been forcefully recruited by the Myanmar army and used as a human shield fighting against the Arakan army by the Myanmar military. And that's creating hostility with the Rakhine Buddhist community along with the Rohingya community. And that's creating a precarious situation for them. They're wanting to come on this side. That's the only safe they have. Otherwise, they're basically going to starve on that side because there's nothing there to help them out since they got displaced from Butitong and other areas.
Tanvir, what are the Rohingya there telling you? Are they still trying to make it across the border to Bangladesh? It sounds like heading back to their own villages just isn't an option.
Yes, despite all the restriction Bangladesh put, they put the border guards and coast guards on alert. They said no more Rohingyas will be allowed. Rohingyas have been trickling down into the camp. They can blend in with the rest of the Rohingyas. They have a lot of family members. We spoke to several of the people who actually, in very recent weeks, have actually come from Butidong and Mangdao in that area and actually taking shelter in the camp. They don't want to be identified due to safety reasons from the authorities. We spoke to 2 young men yesterday who said they were escaping because most of the young men, boys, they've been recruited by the Myanmar army, if not by the Arakan army, to fight on each side, and they want to be part of anything. Yet they're threatened that if you don't, then we'll burn your home, we'll throw your families out from the villages, and you won't be able to come back. Basically, they're trapped. This is why many of them are now wanting to come to the camp, at least know they can get some kind of refugee shelter. They probably will get some aid from the UN agencies. In the jungle, there's nobody to help them. It's a conflict zone. There's periodic battles every other day. You can ask the locals. They'll tell you they can hear gunfires, mortar shells, machine guns every other day here. So in a very precarious situation, unless some aid agency and international agencies go and help them there, their only choice is to escape to Bangladesh, to take refuge here. Yet Bangladesh put up a barrier that they won't accept any more Rohingyas, putting them in a real dire situation.
Indeed. Tanvir Chowdhury there, speaking to us from Teknaf on the Bangladesh-Myanmar border. Thank you very much, Tanvir. Well, we can now bring in Naysay Lwin. He is a human rights activist and the co-founder of the Free Rohingya Coalition. He joins us now from Frankfurt. Naysan, there's a cyclone, as we've been hearing from our correspondent, and a developing humanitarian crisis there on that border. Are there any legal obligations to give shelter to the Rohingya? I know Bangladesh isn't a party to the Refugee Status Convention.
Well, Bangladesh is already hosting more than 1 million refugees. This is not the first time. It has been since 1978 and also in 1991, 1992. They have been hosting all our refugees. But as of now, the problem is within the Rakhine state. All the time, the Myanmar military, they have committed the numerous crimes against the Rohingya, and the Bangladesh need to host all the refugees fleeing from Myanmar. I think this is not the solution. We have to stop who are perpetrating against the Rohingya inside the country. Previously, the Myanmar military was sole perpetrator against the Rohingya, but as of now, Arakan army became the additional one. So all the time, asking the Bangladesh to open the border for the people fleeing for the safety. I think this is not the solution at all. At least the pregnant women and the people who wanted, they must be allowed to cross the border for the medical attention. But for the Rohingya population inside the country, there should be the protection for them. That is only the solution. People are fleeing to Bangladesh, and there is no return at all. Although the Bangladesh government and Myanmar and the China, all the country, they have been talking about the repatriation. It is completely uncertain, and it's not going to happen soon. So we cannot push the people to Bangladesh. Instead, we have to stop the perpetrator. So the serious action from the international community is very much necessary. Now we can see clearly not only the Myanmar military, but also the Arakan army is committing the numerous crime, the crime against humanity, war crime, like beheading. This is completely unacceptable.
I want to talk more exactly about that, about what people are fleeing from right now. As you say, the Rohingya are not only being targeted by the military, but the Arakan army, who I understand want to create an autonomous Rakhine state. As you say, there have been reports of abuse, arson, even beheadings. What has actually been behind the uptick that we're seeing in communal violence between now the Arakan army? What's actually gotten them targeting the Rohingya?
Well, we have supported the struggle of the Rakhine people, especially we have supported the Arakan army, because we had the confidence in them that they will build better future for the Rohingya people. But the more they gain the territory, they are showing their true color. I mean, just if you go and see the Twitter account or the X account of the Arakan army chief, by reading a few tweets, you will see that the hatred against the Rohingya hit his heart. So the hatred against the Rohingya is deeply rooted in the Rakhine people. And as of now, since they have already controlled the majority area of the Rohingya, they are showing to the world what they are going to do, and they have already done the arson step. This is only one significant one. Since the beginning of the April, they have been committing numerous crimes, including the significant massacre. Hundreds of people were being massacred we are investigating one by one. This is not only the one case. There are several cases, They have already burned down the many villages in the rural area. When they burned down the downtown, only we came to know, the world came to know that they are doing this. And the beheading, this is the terrorism. This is not the simply killing the people, They are not stopping. Just 3 days ago, and a woman, 67 years old, she could not walk. She was beheaded, I was told by and with us from the Alachong village. Yeah.
Nesan, thank you so much for sharing the accounts that you're hearing there from the people trying to flee. Nesan Lwin is a human rights activist and the co-founder of the Free Rohingya Coalition. Thank you for sharing that with us from Frankfurt today.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to our channel to get the latest news from Al Jazeera.